Hey, I'm Stephanie Forian, and it's Tech Talk time.
Tech Talk, Tech Talk,
Time to talk tech. Welcome to my web series on the techniques and technology behind the creative process. Today's video is actually the second in a mini-series I'm currently doing on demystifying the voice. I thought it might be interesting to delve a little bit more into the voice because for the most part it's a very invisible instrument, and try to just provide you with some facts and some basic information so that if you decide that you'd like to improve your vocal skills, it won't seem like such an intimidating task. Last week's video laid a foundation for this and the next few upcoming videos, so I'll be sure to link it somewhere here on the screen now, and I will also put the link in the description box for your reference. At the end of that video, we discussed the idea that the voice is an acoustic instrument, and as such, it is subject to the laws of physics. So if we want to learn how to manipulate our voices to make different sounds or achieve different qualities, what we have to do is learn where the muscles are that we have to use and then train those muscles to gain strength and coordination. And so I thought it would be fun in today's video to actually delve a little bit deeper into the aspect of vocalization and actually try to discover 3 of the muscles involved in vocalization together. I thought I'd begin with a little bit of anatomy, simply because if we know where things are in general, it's a little bit easier to picture what we're doing. The vocal cords are technically called vocal folds, and you can think of them as 2 little flaps of soft tissue that live in the larynx. The larynx is a collection of cartilage, muscle, and ligaments that lives on top of the windpipe, or the trachea, in the throat. Now, these cartilages are all separate from one another, and we can move them if we use certain muscles. And we're going to be taking a look at 3 of those muscles today. One last thing that's important to note when we're talking about anatomy is that the vocal cords are connected at the front of the larynx, which is at the front of the throat. And they're kind of connected in a V formation. So they come together at the front, and they're kind of open at the back, and they can pivot, open and closed. When we are not vocalizing, so when we're doing things like breathing, they open. However, if we want to vocalize, then we close. Air passes through them, causing them to vibrate, and that is the source signal that we use when we speak or sing. So it would look kind of like this. And that very first muscle is the one that we're going to be talking about right now. We use this muscle whenever we speak, and so if you can talk, then you actually use this muscle all the time. The goal today is to become aware of how it feels when we use it. And so we're going to do an exercise that really just consists of making silly noises, and the effort to see if we can actually kind of look inside ourselves and feel what we're doing as it happens. For this exercise, I wouldn't call it singing. We're basically going to just kind of be exhaling on a note. It doesn't really matter what the note is. You don't even have to hold one individual note. You just want to make sure that the note is in the middle of your range. So don't pick a super high note, don't pick a super low note. Just aim for somewhere in the middle. Maybe within your speaking range would be perfect. The breath that we're going to use for this exercise is a super relaxed one. So imagine that you just spent the day on vacation doing your favorite thing in the world with your favorite people in the world, and that you're happy but completely exhausted and about to fall into bed. This sort of energy. That really gentle exhale is the exact speed that we're looking for. To do this exercise, we're going to gently, slowly, and steadily exhale on the sound shh. Now, as we do that, we are going to turn our voice on and turn it off. Turn it on and turn it off. And we're going to try to feel the contrast that happens in our throat when we do that. That's going to sound like this. As you can hear, it wasn't particularly loud, it wasn't particularly pretty. The whole purpose of this activity is not to create a certain quality of sound, but simply to discover how it feels to start generating the sound in our throats. So one more time. Fun fact, we didn't just use one muscle, we used a muscle group. It was the transverse and oblique arytenoid muscles that caused our vocal cords to close so that we could phonate. Isn't that exciting? The next muscle we're going to talk about actually elongates the vocal cords. I'll try to demonstrate what's going to happen when we activate this muscle with my hands. We have a cartilage that sits on top of the windpipe, and then we have a cartilage that sits on top of that cartilage. And it actually looks kind of like this. This cartilage is a ring, and this cartilage is kind of a half circle. Now, when we use this muscle, it's going to pull the top cartilage down and out, so it slides over that bottom cartilage. For this particular exercise, we can actually feel what's happening inside by touching our throats. So we're going to do that with a very gentle touch. You don't need a whole lot of pressure. One thumb and one forefinger on either side of the larynx. And what we're going to do is yawn. And while we yawn, we're going to make a little bit of a noise. We're going to use the same relaxed, steady breath that we did for the first exercise, and it's going to look and sound a little bit like this. And if you felt movement there, that was actually your thyroid cartilage being pulled down and over your cricoid cartilage with the cricothyroid muscle. The cool kids call that the CT muscle. The third and final muscle we're going to try to find today is the opposing muscle group. So when we tense up this muscle, it thickens up the vocal cord fibers. This particular exercise can be a little tricky because it sounds pretty piercing and annoying. And so people automatically assume that you need a lot of air pressure to generate that. But I'm still going to be using the same slow and steady breath that I used in the first two exercises. And the only thing I'm doing is trying to make a very annoying nasally sound. And that is just generated here. It's not generated from the stomach. It's not generated from the ribs. The sound is merely being generated by tensing up that muscle that's parallel to the vocal cords. And it's going to sound like this. You can kind of try to imitate, pretend you're an adult baby. You're an adult baby and you're crying. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It can be difficult to kind of nail that sound right on the head right away and isolate that muscle. And if you need to take some time searching, that's very normal, but it is very strenuous. So if you notice any soreness, any sign of vocal fatigue at all, take a break and come back to it later, because that aryteno-thyroid muscle is a crazy beast to try to tame. If you have any questions about what I talked about today, please feel free to ask me in the comments. And if you found what I said helpful or interesting in any way, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, because that will help other people with similar interests also find this video. And of course, as always, thank you so much for choosing to spend some of your time with me today. I hope you have a wonderful week and that I'll see you again soon for some more Tech Talk time.